So I've arrived at Avebury. It's Saturday the 29th of June 2019, and I've come through from the Midlands down through Cheltenham and on the train to Swindon, and then across from Swindon to Avebury on the bus. So it's late on in the day. Well, it's sort of 5ish, so I'm just about to start the Ridgeway walk, and the bus drops you off at Avebury, and here I am in the stone circle. You can see the sarsen stones behind me. It's a gorgeous day, a little bit hot maybe, but it's a good day to start the Ridgeway walk. So I'm going to make my way over past Silbury Hill to West Kennet, maybe have a look at the Long Barrow there, and then up to the start of the Ridgeway proper. So let's see how things go. It's very hot today, probably the hottest day so far this year. Apparently we're into the mid-20s, maybe into 30 odd degrees centigrade. So I'm going to make my way as best I can. I'm usually used to bike packing, where most of the weight is on the bike, although it's heavy enough to pedal the bike. But this time I've got everything on the backpack. Exactly. Let's go. Well, I'm within half a mile of Avebury, and already the crowds have disappeared, and it's an extraordinary sight behind me. It's Silbury Hill. Fantastic amount of earthworks involved there. 4,000 odd years old, going back to the Neolithic, possibly Bronze Age. But just look at it, in the middle of the chalk downland here, surrounded by acres of grassland and crops, you've got this almost otherworldly hill, man-made, entirely man-made. Fantastic to see Avebury and Silbury Hill. So here we are at West Kennet Long Barrow. It was built during the Neolithic time. It's a burial chamber, and apparently there were 46 burials in here, each in these little side chambers. It's just amazing. Built apparently 1,000 years before Silbury Hill, and there are chalk and limestone sarsen stones. If we go right into the back, not that much light. Looks like people have left various little offerings and things. Another of Wiltshire's amazing archaeological legacy, really. Long barrows, round barrows, stone circles. It's a very ancient landscape. Here's the view roundabout along the length of the barrow. It's quite long, and then across over there towards Avebury, where I've just come from, and Silbury Hill. So I'm just up at the sanctuary. It's another, well, you can read it yourself, but it's another ceremonial site about 4,500 years ago. and the concrete posts in the ground here show where the stone circle used to be. And over in the distance, just there, is Silbury Hill, and beyond it over here will be Avebury, and I think just up here where that red camper van is, I think that could be the start of the Ridgeway. So it's 20 to 7, so it looks like I might have just arrived at the Ridgeway. Whoopee! As I walk up the trail, you can probably detect in the background some puffing and panting noises. I did find carrying the rucksack quite difficult, quite heavy at times. Took a lot of getting used to, but as time went on, I gradually became more accustomed to it. And it was the end of a fairly long day. It was getting on into the evening. Well, it's about 20 to 8. I've been walking now since about 5ish. I'm on the Ridgeway. You can see the track leading away behind me there. That's the way forwards. Some nice views across here. But the priority now is to try and find some wild camping. But doesn't seem to be many options really. There's a lot of very long grass each side of the trail. Haven't seen too many really nice opportunities yet, unless I beat the grass down, so just have to see what's around the next corner. But priority now is to get camp set up and get a drink. So here I am, I'm just off the trail. Got the tent set up and it's a bit breezy, but I'm doing a bit of cooking. All's good really. Very quiet spot, I don't think anybody's going to trouble me, hopefully. So that's the end of day one. Good night. So I had an early start the following morning. I packed up early, had couscous for breakfast and a nice hot drink, and then loaded my pack and set off up the trail, ready for another day. So I think weather looks a little bit less settled today, a bit more cloud about, a bit more wind, cooler, so that's quite nice for walking as long as it doesn't rain. I'm just along the trail here, and I think these are called dew ponds. They're places where the travellers in the past would have got some water supplies from, obviously for stock that they were herding along the Ridgeway. This is quite a track here, nice clear way, looking right on the edge of the escarpment, but you can see over here, that's where the villages are, away down in the valley bottom there. So if you run out of water, you face a good mile and a half trek down to the village and then back up onto the ridge. But nice commanding views across the valley there, and the way looking back. And if we look over there, we can see the outline of Avebury Castle, which is an Iron Age hill fort. Just about to get there. So here I am at Avebury Castle, just about to go into the hill fort. You can see the embankments around the fortification here. Let's have a look in. So the Ridgeway just goes right through the fort. So at one time this would be full of Iron Age Roman Britons, and apparently they've found all kinds of artifacts from this site, including various tools belonging to blacksmiths, some bits and pieces belonging to cartwheels, and other bits and bobs found, and they're in the museums in Swindon and Devizes apparently. This pack doesn't get any lighter. So I've just left the farm back there and I'm heading on to Smeath's Ridge. You can just see somebody maybe in red along there. They're running along the ridge, and that leads on to Ogbourne St George, and the constant sound above my head is skylarks. So just to mention, back in Ogbourne St George, there's a place called Elm Tree Cottage, the last building on the right as you're coming up this trackway behind me, and it's there where you can get some water. So I've got a full bottle of drinking water now, which would hopefully take me to the next tap, which is further along that way. That's looking down towards Swindon over there. And the M4 in the distance, in the valley bottom there. Lovely open views across Wiltshire countryside. So I'll do another couple of hours. I'm aiming to get to the next water tap, which is at Illstone Barn, I think it's called, and then soon after that I'll try and find somewhere to camp. So I've arrived at one of the drinking water points on the way, Idstone Barn. It's pointing over here. Let's go and have a look. Yes, looks like drinking water. Blue pipe. Oh. Trough water for animals. But the tap water will be alright, hopefully. I'm going to take the tap water. I'll leave the trough water for the animals. So I made it to Idstone Barn and I picked up some water, and I walked a couple of miles on from there and I'm camped on a byway just off the main trail. A bit of a forest here that's casting a shadow, and the main Ridgeway goes left to right just up where those boulders are. So I'm just off the Ridgeway, and I've found quite a nice camping spot. I'll see if I can get out of the tent I'm just brewing up water for a dehydrated meal. I've got quite stiff legs at the moment, not much energy left. Let's see what it's like out here. So that's the this is the line of the byway, and I've just pitched my tent here. Should be alright. It's on a little bit of a lean. Well, it was another lovely day in prospect. The sun was shining. As you can see here, I'm getting ready to start off, and just to say, I made sure I check that I don't leave anything behind, any litter, any remains of cooking and so on. All the stuff that I carry, I pack in and I pack out, following the leave no trace principles. So I've just arrived at Wayland's Smithy, which is another of these, it's a Neolithic long barrow, named after the Saxon smith god Wayland. So it's in there, we'll go and have a look. It's a bit like, well, it's very similar to the West Kennet long barrow that we visited a couple of days ago, just out of I can't remember the name of the place now. Anyway, West Kennet long barrow, but look at this. It's another of these big stones, like dolmens, and there's a chamber inside. Let's see if I can clamber in. Gosh, it's huge. I don't know if you can see very much, but it is. That's about as far as it goes, I think. Having left Wayland Smithy, I then continued on the footpath to the White Horse Hill, which is the site of the Uffington Castle, and of course the famous White Horse of Uffington. So here I am on White Horse Hill. Really clear views across the Vale of White Horse behind me. There's Uffington Castle, the Iron Age hill fort just behind me, and then I'm going to head and find the White Horse if I can, somewhere over here. So I've come down the hill a bit, as far as I think it's reasonable to do so, and you can just about make it out there. You see the legs, the tail, the body, but I think it's probably best viewed from somewhere over here. Look at that feature. I wonder what that's all about. Yeah, probably best viewed from that village over there. Maybe that's the place to be, Uffington. Anyway, there's a view roundabout. Very pleasant. Sheep grazing in the distance. Just doing a little panoramic view of the Vale of the White Horse down there, and some kind of power station in the distance, and the Ridgeway continuing up here. So as I'm walking along, I'm just thinking about the logistics of doing this trail, and I hadn't really taken it into a great deal of account. I should have done, but apart from water supply, which so far hasn't been too bad, I've known where the taps are. If you go onto the National Trails website for the Ridgeway, you can download a printed sheet telling you where the water supplies are. But once you're up on the ridge, you are quite a long way from anywhere. I mean, you can see through there are villages right down there, but they're sort of a little bit off the trail, and you very rarely go through villages on the first 2 or 3 days until, by the looks of it, you get to Goring-on-Thames, which is 3 days on, 3 days into the trail. So what I've realised is you need to carry food as well for 3 days. The only place that I did pass yesterday was an Indian restaurant, quite a big place called the Burge. Looked very fancy. I'm sure they would have catered for me, but I just continued on. I had a stop there for a cup of coffee. Very nice place, but that was it. Nothing else really. So carrying enough food is also a big consideration for the trail. Anyway, I'm just past Uffington Castle, and I'm heading on the trail, the Ridgeway National Trail. It's the 1st of July, and this is how it is. Just the sound of the wind, the birds and the pack, and my feet tramping over this chalk, stony, hard packed ground. I have to say I've got a few blisters. Unfortunately, and my knees hurt a bit with carrying extra weight, but at the moment I'm able to keep going. So this is day, 3rd day now. More later. Okay, I'm absolutely shot at. I'm supposed to have got to Goring-on-Thames by today, and I'm probably a good maybe 6 miles away from there, so I'm not gonna push myself. It's getting on for 4:30 now. There's a load of I think they call them gallops here, on the downs, and you can see the power station over there. That's been kind of with me most of the day really. Feels like I haven't made a great deal of progress, and that's the way ahead. My legs are aching. I've really got sore feet now. I reckon if I stop for a rest I'd probably not get going again, so I'm just going to try and hobble on and see if I can find somewhere up here, up over the tops, away from this race coursing area, to find a wild camp, and then maybe try and get to Goring tomorrow during the morning. So that's the situation on day 3. Not an easy route this. Very hard packed roadway, and it really plays havoc with your feet. There's bits where there's grass sort of on here, but walking on this sort of gravelly, hard-packed stuff here, it really hard going on your feet. Anyway, enough complaining. Keep going. So end of day 3, and I've made it to a little triangle of vacant ground just off the trail here, maybe about 3 miles out of Goring in the end. So I've got that little bit to do tomorrow, but that'll give me a chance to get into Goring and get a few more supplies, maybe get something to eat as well for breakfast. It's running out of food really. But it's a lovely location. See where I've pitched my tent, just off the trail. It's fairly quiet. There's been 1 or 2 mountain bikers by, but nothing else. And turning into a really nice evening. Just turn around and show you. A view down there towards Compton, I think. There is a little trackway, a byway down to Compton, but it's about 1.5 miles away, something like that, just a bit too far. And tomorrow I'll head off round the corner there. I'm not sure what there is around that corner, I haven't been yet. Anyway, there we go. Another peaceful spot. And day 4 begins. I've just been camping about 100 yards down there, and lovely spot, really peaceful, nice trail here, really perfect weather this morning. So I'm heading into Goring on Thames, and from there we're into the second half of the trail really, into the Chiltern Hills. So just to give you an idea of where I'm at here, nice field, just archetypal countryside really around here, beautiful. Let's go. I'm a bit late setting off today. It's just coming up to 9 o'clock, but I had a really good night's sleep. My legs feel a bit more refreshed. I've got quite nasty blisters, but I find that after about 100 yards or so you kind of break through the the pain threshold somehow, and then it becomes sort of reasonably okay to walk again with a with a normal sort of gait kind of thing. Although I am being a bit delicate as to where I place my feet. Anyway, hopefully Goring on Thames, a sizable village. I believe there's a cafe there, so that'll be nice mid-morning. Okay. So I've just come out of Goring on Thames, and I'm walking on the River Thames path now on the embankment. Some fantastic looking houses over there, all with their own private waterfront. So I'm heading this direction. Lots of water here compared to on the downs where there's absolutely no water at all. Obviously River Thames is there, but I don't think I'll be drinking it. I'm on a pathway called Grim's Dyke, and it's a straight path, although it meanders about in this a little bit of woodland either side, but we're on this raised bank which seems to be like some kind of boundary between the low-lying ground to one side and also to the other side. It's very straight and it's leading up from the Thames up towards the Chiltern Hills. There's a view of it ahead. Plod, 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 gradually going uphill. Somebody's been out with a mower to chop back the grass, which is incredible, really. There's a view, a glimpse of the hills in the distance. Oh, opening out a little bit here. A road, crossing a road. Oh, that's nice. Swifts about here. So that's the direction that we're heading, up towards those trees and then along to the left. This is Grimsditch. At the moment going through a bit of a forest, which gives a nice bit of shade actually, because the sun is really hot. Just going uphill, so I'm just walking nice and slow. I think there's a water supply somewhere up here. There's a cottage and water at a church in a place called Nuffield. So we'll pick up some water. Oh, this is crazy. I've never been through a field like this. It's just vast. And the path just goes on. Still walking. 10 to 7, it's a long day today. Trying to get to Watlington, the campsite there. I could do with charging up some batteries and things like that. I think it's another couple of miles maybe from here. So, plod on. Good morning, it's 8 o'clock, day 5, and I'm back on the trail. I stayed at a farm campsite back there, rather nice. All the facilities which I made use of, got all the electrical stuff charged up, and I'm on the way now to Princess Risborough, and hopefully, if I can make it, Wendover. It's a lovely day, so see where the trail takes us. Sunshine. It's going to be hot though, but it's better than driving rain and wind and sleet. Here we go. We're in the Chilterns. There's loads of birds singing. Oh, and the red kites. Loads of red kites around here. And they seem quite Quite sort of gregarious almost. They're very, very sort of close to where people live. They just sit in the treetop just above the campsite, see them in plain view, mewing away, obviously looking for scraps. Interesting bird, lovely to see. Here we are on the Ridgeway National Trail, just about a couple of miles from Prince's Risborough. Panoramic view round. Just come under the M40 there. I could hear it for miles. Very, very busy road. Having walked most of the morning in quite high temperatures, I was glad to reach Prince's Risborough, which you can see just behind there. I had lunch in Prince's Risborough, one of the cafes, and then the path climbed fairly steeply back up onto the escarpment before heading through some lovely woodland, really nice shaded area which was very welcome, and then continued on over some hills before eventually reaching the Chequers estate, where the Prime Minister has a property that they go to for the weekend apparently. So this is the Chequers estate. I then continued on to Coombe Hill, and then as the evening wore on and things became quieter, I found a nice little pitch and set my tent up, ready for the night ahead. Wendover was a great place to start the day. I packed up my tent and went down into the town, and then found breakfast and some supplies to set me on the trail for the rest of the day to Ivinghoe Beacon. So just leaving Wendover, and the trail has come through the suburbs and out into this lovely woodland. It's fantastic. I can hear some red kite and other birds. I came across this extraordinary sunken trackway, which was obviously very, very old, and had obviously been used for centuries, and it just wound its way all the way up a fairly steep slope through this woodland, and eventually emerged out onto the top of the escarpment. So I've just come through Tring station, on the final section of the path now to Ivinghoe Beacon. It's just another 3 miles. I found a nice sheltered spot, sheltered from the sun that is, for a change, for a bit of dinner. Need to rest now and again, the legs are getting a bit weary, but we're on the final stage now, so hopefully next stop will be Ivinghoe Beacon. It's 25 to 3, so maybe get there by 4ish. There's some amazing trees in this forest. I think it's beech, but there's some really big trees. And look at this one, look at the shape of that, with the branch coming right out here. Hey, incredible. Let's go. So we're coming out of the fairly lengthy walk through the forest, sort of like mixed woodland, deciduous woodland, lots of beech trees, and we're now going to be entering the chalk escarpment of just grassland and sort of scrub, and this is the view. Lovely. There's some old quarry workings over to my left which have got water in them. There's the view over to where I've just come from, presumably somewhere across that far ridge. And now we're out on the top again, this lovely expanse of grassland with the path ahead there. Apparently the chalk grassland here has got very unique species in there, and that supports the whole ecosystem of insects and so on. Lots of butterflies around, and included in there are sort of marjoram and thyme, wild thyme, which I've been able to pick out because it's flowering at the moment. Not sure about the marjoram, but what a glorious place. And the footpath is really nice and soft and green. It would be a fantastic place to camp tonight, but I think because I've got very little water now, I'm going to have to drop down. There is a campsite, I believe, somewhere near Ivinghoe village, so that's probably where I'll head for later on. On the climb now, up around this sort of hollow, this Coombe. They're doing some filming back there. I wondered what all the vehicles were about, and then closer to you could see all the actors and what have you. Obviously doing some kind of period thing, because they're all in sort of, I don't know, 19th century costumes, horse-drawn carriages, that kind of thing. Good day for them. It's a good day for a climb. Onwards and upwards, as they say. I'm wondering if that hilltop over there, I'm wondering if that might be my destination. Ivinghoe Beacon. Yeah, over there. There's some people on the top of it. So that could be it, but we'll just keep walking and see. Well, I eventually reached Ivinghoe Beacon and took in the views and took some photographs. That concluded the Ridgeway trail for me, 87 miles from Overton Hill right the way across to the finish at Ivinghoe Beacon. And here you can see the view across the plains beyond, and looking back towards the escarpment, the Chiltern Hills, where I've just come from. It was a lovely walk, one which I would definitely recommend, but I have to say I was extremely lucky with the weather. Well, I've just come away from Ivinghoe Beacon, and behind me there's a lot of traffic there. They're making a film. They're a bit tight-lipped as to what the film is, but apparently it's something to do with Sherlock Holmes, something to do with the trilogy, the next trilogy. But the security is incredible. I was just like ushered through, more or less told to move on, but very kindly at the little campsite back there they've given me 2.5 litres of water, which means I've got a little bit more flexibility now as to where I spend the night. Perhaps I'll head back towards Tring station and camp somewhere above there. But that's what a movie looks like when they're in town. And so with my water bottles full, I had the option then of camping on Pitstone Hill, quite near to Tring railway station, where I was able to catch the train the following morning back home. I had a chance to brew a cup of coffee and reflect on the last 87 miles and the completion of the Ridgeway National Trail. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more content. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.